In spring 2014, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge took their baby son, Prince George, on a tour of Australia and New Zealand. 3 decades earlier, the Prince and Princess of Wales had made a similar trip with their baby William. But later, their marriage collapsed, shaking the monarchy to its foundations. Now, a new royal family is giving the monarchy a solid future, possibly into the next century. William, Kate and George began their tour in New Zealand. 8-month-old George was dubbed the Prince of Cuteness. With his amusing behaviour, he quickly became the star of the royal show. Top of the tour's agenda was a playdate for George with other babies at Government House in Wellington.
People were very excited about his first official engagement. They took him to a playgroup to play with other children. And that was really nice because it was not just George on his own pottering around, it was actually you're getting to see him interact with other babies the same age. And we got to see what George was like, we got to see his personality. He was described, I think, as a bit intrepid and quite feisty. He was quite a determined little baby. He was really going for the toys that he wanted. He's had a lot of attention and he has a super nanny, and you could tell that he had perhaps had a lot of help with his development. He was almost walking where other babies were just crawling. And I also think something that's quite funny about George as well was that his little grumpy expressions kind of became a theme of the tour as well. I mean, he certainly wasn't up for smiling all the time. He'd be carried off a plane and he'd just kind of look like this.
Looking at baby William in 1982, the family resemblance is clear. William's parents, Charles and Diana, tried to amuse him for the first photo call since birth, but he kept a solemn expression throughout. One of the highlights of William and Kate's visit to Australia was a trip with George to Sydney's Taronga Zoo, where he was taken to an enclosure named in his honour and introduced to a small furry animal called a bilby. The zoo trip showed William, Kate and George as a family, royal but normal in every other way. George has added a touch of informality amid the protocol of royal life, which is fast becoming the Cambridge family's trademark. Kate has coped with the demands of motherhood while supporting Prince William on his official duties. Since her marriage in 2011, Kate has blended seamlessly into royal life. She's embraced her new role with enthusiasm and taken to it as if to the manner born. William was trained from birth, but the pressures of royal duty are tougher for a girl from a middle-class background. Whether playing cricket in Christchurch wearing a tight red dress, or taking a turn as a DJ at a youth music centre in Adelaide, or riding the rapids on a jet boat on the Shotover River near Queenstown, or placing flowers at a war memorial in Hamilton, Kate has shown an instinctive flair for her role as Duchess of Cambridge. As a royal, she must never look tired or bored. She must give everyone she meets a special memory that lasts a lifetime.
I think Kate has a certain natural charm. There are some things that you can't manufacture, and I definitely think that she has a certain star quality about her. She's very high energy. She's very interested in people. I think one of the things that she does when she talks to people, and I've met her before, and she's done it with me. She turns her whole body towards you, and she looks at you. And for the few moments that you're talking to her, you are absolutely the focus of her attention. And I think that she does make people feel very special for that reason.
Kate chose the fashion house of the late Alexander McQueen to create her wedding dress. A blend of modern and traditional, it was the perfect gown for a 21st century royal bride.
There was a real celebration, particularly in the fashion industry, that Kate had chosen McQueen to design her dress, not because McQueen is British, not just because it's one of the most famous labels in the country, but it was an amazing tribute, and a very personal tribute, I think, from the Duchess to Alexander McQueen, who of course is no longer with us. Now, the fashion house has been continued by his number 2, Sarah Burton. She is the woman who designed Kate's wedding dress, and she's the woman who Kate works very closely with on a weekly basis, Kate will commission items to be made specially for her. She might take pieces from one of Sarah Burton's new collections and have it adapted so that it's more suitable to her. McQueen dresses and skirts can be very short. The Duchess likes to wear things that fall just below or at knee level. So Sarah and Kate work very closely on the tailoring, on having things adapted for the Duchess's line of work. But if you asked me which designer Kate is most affiliated with, I would absolutely say McQueen, and I think that's fantastic for British fashion. She's also, let's not forget, a big fan of the High Street. We know Kate, particularly in the tabloids, as the Duchess of the High Street.
Sarah Burton's beautifully adapted designs for the McQueen label are among the most successful and popular of Kate's outfits. Clothes by young designers sell out as soon as Kate wears them. With thrift in mind, Kate sometimes recycles clothes, like this blue Stella McCartney dress and this lemon broderie anglaise dress. The late Catherine Walker was one of Diana's most influential designers. Her fashion house continued after her death in 2010 and is now favoured by Kate.
Well, Catherine Walker is a really interesting choice for the Duchess. Firstly, because Catherine Walker is synonymous with Diana. She and Diana would work very closely on designing, a little in the same way that Sarah Burton and Kate do today. But for Kate to go to Catherine Walker for some really important dresses, I think is probably Kate's way of paying tribute to Diana. So when we saw Kate coming down the steps of the plane as they landed in Wellington, not only was she in a fabulously vibrant red against this dreary, watery, wet sky, she sort of stood out with her pillbox hat, her dress coat. She looked fantastic. But what was so great was that she was wearing Catherine Walker. And I think that was really her way of paying homage to the mother-in-law that she never met.
The Catherine Walker outfit was a powerful reminder of the past when Diana, not Kate, was the most photographed woman on the planet. Diana was stunningly beautiful and wore fabulous gowns like this beaded outfit by Catherine Walker. Coming from an aristocratic family, she combined the allure of a superstar with the aura of royalty. One day, Kate will be the next Princess of Wales. Kate arrived in Australia wearing a yellow and white dress by Roxanda Ilinčić. Occasional royal visits are needed in Australia to push back the tide of republicanism. In 1983, 7 months old, Prince William arrived in Australia carried by his nanny Barbara Barnes. His parents were making a 6-week tour of Australia and New Zealand. It was a life-changing experience for Diana, still only 21. Kate was 32. Unlike Diana, she was happy in her role and confident of her husband's support. William and Kate are young, full of life, and interact with everybody they meet. They are the new generation of royalty, the modern face of a monarchy thousands of miles away. As they began their Australian tour, the Sydney Morning Herald carried the headline, "Royals arrive, Republic recedes." With their visit, Australian republicanism slumped to its lowest level in over 3 decades.
William and Kate are extremely popular in Australia. Ever since they've got married, people have been desperate for them to make a visit there. And I think what's really interesting is that Australia and New Zealand both have incredibly strong Republican movements. A lot of people don't want the British monarchy as head of state. But what we were seeing when we were visiting the countries was that people were really separating that issue from the fact that they just love William, Kate and George as celebrities, and they were so excited to have them in the country.
Australia's opposition Labour Party leader Bill Shorten wants an Australian head of state. Questioned by the reporters, he was cautious about the future of the monarchy.
We will continue the relationship, not so much of mother country, but continuous oldest friend.
But will there be a monarchy in 50 years' time?
Oh, I can't even pick the winner on race 5 on Saturday, so I won't start throwing my crystal ball about that debate.
On the second day of their Australian tour, William and Kate paid a sympathetic visit to the fire-damaged town of Winmalee in the Blue Mountains near Sydney. 6 months earlier, it was ravaged by bushfires. Almost 200 homes were destroyed. William and Kate talked to some of the people who were made homeless by the fires.
For them to come out all this way to say hello, especially to my children and to us, and say, I'm sorry this happened to you. It means an awful lot. So
they were lovely and warm. I got a kiss from Kate, and they're going to come back to my house, have a cup of tea when it's rebuilt.
Kate listened intently to the brave firemen who'd battled the fires for days. Then Kate, a volunteer with the Scout Association back home, was thrilled to hear the local girl guides singing for her. The couple took in the spectacular views at Echo Point. They saw the Three Sisters peaks and the hazy blue vistas that give the Blue Mountains their name. The crowds had only come to see the Duke and Duchess and were determined to take a photo of the visit, preferably a selfie with Kate. Her ability to engage with people, especially with children, is increasingly reminiscent of Diana. William had the officials worried for a moment when he stepped close to a precipice to see an abseiling exercise. The couple watched a bird show and then posed with one of Australia's favourite animals, the koala. They visited a children's hospice and talked to the patients and their parents. They were deeply moved by the experience. Kate chose the occasion to make a speech expressing her gratitude to Australia.
If I may, I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who's welcomed me and George so incredibly warmly on our first visit. To be here as a family has been very special, and we'll always remember it with fond and happy memories.
The influence of Diana's humanitarian causes is evident in William's wife. Kate once said, "I would have loved to have met Diana, and she's obviously an inspirational woman to look up to." Kate's long years of courtship with William before their marriage prepared her to cope with the pressure of unending public scrutiny.
There's such huge interest in the royal family, and in particular William and Kate. And what you get whenever they go to any official visit is just this saturated media coverage. The minute they begin an engagement, the minute they leave, you've got Twitter, you've got live streaming, you've got blanket internet coverage. You contrast that to when Charles and Diana went to Australia and New Zealand, and there was at that time one story a day coming out of the country via the newspapers and the television bulletins, and that was it, and people were being drip-fed the information. Makes it much easier to sustain interest over a long period of time.
On another Australian tour in 1988, Charles and Diana visited a beach near Sydney to see the lifeguards in action. Diana talked to them about their work and presented them with a commemorative plaque. Then she allowed herself to be photographed inadvisedly with the scantily clad young men. Kate was more sure-footed on her visit to Australia.
Well, I was on that beach in Australia. It was burning hot. We were surrounded by these fabulous-looking lifeguards, beach boys, surfer girls, and everyone was in flip-flops. And we were all wondering what the Duchess would be wearing, because she loves her wedged sandals. She's naturally very tall, but she really likes to accentuate her height with wedges. And I remember waiting there. I was reporting for Channel 9 in Australia at the time, and I was discussing with the presenter, what's she going to come out on? Will she be wearing flip-flops? Will she be barefoot? And we were all absolutely stunned when she came out in these towering wedges and navigated the sand in these really towering shoes, and not just walking on the sand. At one point she was starting off a race and she ran down to the water, and it was dubbed the Baywatch moment, and she did it with amazing ease and dexterity, and she didn't go flying on her face, which I think anyone else probably would have done.
In New Zealand, the couple attended the unveiling of a new portrait of the Queen. Kate wore a Jenny Packham bespoke black dress, embroidered in silver with a fern, the national symbol of the country. The The portrait showed the Queen wearing her diamond silver fern brooch, a gift from New Zealand, which she loaned to Kate for the tour.
When she arrived in New Zealand, she had the silver fern brooch on, which is obviously the brooch of the emblem of the country of New Zealand. So that's her way, in the same way that the Queen does, of showing respect to the country that she's visiting, paying tribute to the country through her choice of clothes. So I think that's something that's very important for her to do. It's something that the royal family have done for a very long time. And I also think it's really nice that the Queen clearly wanted her to borrow the jewellery, wanted her to wear it. So I think that's a really nice kind of image of history repeating itself.
Shortly before leaving Australia, the couple visited Parliament House in Canberra. Their meeting with the Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott underlined the serious purpose of the tour. After receiving gifts for George, William made a speech.
Thank you for the warmth and generosity that has been shown to us during our visit. We greatly look forward to coming back, and when we do return, it'll be to marvel again at all that Australia is and will yet become. Thank you.
William didn't mention the monarchy in Australia. He left that to Tony Abbott, who made his own views on the subject clear.
Many decades hence, when a currently unknowable Australian Prime Minister welcomes your son, King George VII, to this building, that will be a sign of the stability and the continuity in the life of our nation.
The highlight of the royal tour was probably the couple's visit to Ayers Rock, now officially named Uluru. Like so many other tourists, they watched the sunset over the iconic Red Rock. Charles and Diana had done the same in 1983 during their first tour of Australia. They also met Indigenous Aborigine people. Over 30 years later, local Aborigines performed their dance Inma for William and Kate. Showing respect for different cultures within the Commonwealth remains an important part of royal tours. The couple were presented with handmade gifts, a shield for William and wooden toys for George. Battling flies and heat, the couple were then taken to see Uluru. The massive sandstone outcrop is a place of Aboriginal myths and legends and has to be treated with respect. The couple were walked part of the way round its perimeter, as walking or climbing on it is frowned upon. William is an heir to nearly 1,000 years of kings and queens. Kate has her blue-collar ancestry, yet she's taken on the mantle of royalty with faultless grace and charm.
I think Kate, in many ways, has breathed new life into the monarchy. You know, it's been a long time since we've had a young, glamorous, almost celebrity within the royal family, and I use that word quite deliberately because I do think the young royals are now as akin to celebrity as they are to members of the royal family. And I think together, William and Kate as a unit, as a brand, and we talk about brand Cambridge, it's probably the most powerful asset that the monarchy has.
That asset was already at work in Canada in 2011, just weeks after the royal wedding. William visited Niagara Falls 20 years earlier with his mother and brother Harry. Back in Canada with his bride Kate, they enjoyed a high-profile but relaxed tour. Kate wore the Queen's maple leaf brooch, representing the national emblem of Canada, which was given to the Queen by her mother. Pleasing the host nation with a variety of events and activities, William and Kate showed they were enthusiastic and adaptable. It was Kate's first tour as Duchess of Cambridge. On Canada Day, July the 1st, she wore red and white, the national colours of the country. 500,000 lined the streets of Ottawa to see the newlyweds, driven by carriage to Parliament Hill, where they watched the Canada Day show. They showed unfailing interest in everything and everyone. They shared a loving moment after a boat race.
They've turned out to be brilliant ambassadors, far better than anyone dared hope. They are the number one draw around the world for us. The Queen has complete confidence in them now, that they can do a brilliant job representing Britain and the monarchy, the modern face of the monarchy. I mean, people love them, and they seem to have adjusted to it and taken to it like ducks to water.
The couple visited Hollywood in 2011 when they attended a dazzling charity dinner. As president of BAFTA, William was keen to introduce new talent to the cream of the movie industry, but all eyes were on Kate. The event was the hottest ticket in town, but none of the celebrities outshone the royal couple.
We brought back to life Clark Gable and Marilyn Monroe. They wouldn't excite Americans this much.
And they make me smile. I love them.
They met Barbara Streisand, Charles's friend, and Tom Hanks and his wife, friends of Diana. America had not seen anything like this since Charles and Diana visited the White House in 1985. In her Victor Edelstein off-the-shoulder gown, she outshone the other guests, as the president later recalled.
Very prominent and well-known people and all, and including some of our performers, theater performers, and Hollywood celebrities. But then she came, and of course she was the new star, and she carried herself very well. I'd had an opportunity at dinner to hear of what she thought about some of, particularly the performing stars that were there. And so the dancing began, but yet she was the center of attention. The rest of the people were pretty much of an audience. So I managed to get word to John Travolta. She had mentioned approvingly during dinner to ask her to dance, to break the ice, because most of our people were a little hesitant about that. And he did, and they danced beautifully together, and it was a kind of high spot that I do remember in that entire evening.
After the failure of Charles and Diana's marriage, the focus fell on their sons, particularly on William as future king. In July 2013, he and Kate presented their new son to the world a day after his birth. When Charles and Diana left the same hospital with baby William in June 1982, they had seemed like the perfect family.
Well, he's got a good pair of lungs on him, that's for sure. He's a big boy, he's quite heavy, but we're still working on a name, so we'll have that as soon as we can. But it's the first time we've seen him really, so having a proper chance to catch up and see is very emotional.
Yeah, it's very emotional and it's such a special time. I think any parent, will probably sort of know what this feeling feels like. So.
It's got her looks, thankfully.
No, I'm not sure about that.
Thanks a lot, thank you.
Their relaxed style in front of the cameras showed a very solid and balanced relationship.
I think Kate is a great companion for William. You only have to watch them and you'll see a chemistry between them. There is a spark. There's a glance that, because there are so many captures, is inevitably captured on camera, but it's so natural. There's nothing forced about it. There are a couple who are genuinely and deeply in love and very happy together.
William began St Andrews University at 19. He was one of the world's most eligible bachelors. Inevitably, his choice of future bride became a source of media speculation. Fellow student Kate Middleton was just one among many girls linked with him. Every one of the student prince's circle of well-connected female admirers was surveyed for her princess potential. The press were then unaware that William and Kate had a secret romance. The media guessing game continued for years. Kate's main rival was William's childhood friend, Jekka Craig. The palace even denied reports of a romance. Before dating Kate, William had a brief fling with another St Andrews student, Carly Massey Birch. William had retained many friends who shared his teenage years. He has known the Van Cutsem family all his life. They're among the group of loyal friends with whom he feels most at ease. These are known as the Circle of Trust. One friend who let him down badly is Tara Palmer-Tompkinson. The sister and daughter of some of Charles's closest friends and skiing companions, Tara was expected to keep royal secrets. But she let her love of the media and publicity lead her into unwise decisions. She also developed a cocaine addiction, which was cured after a spell in an American clinic. She became a socialite, presenter, columnist, model and charity patron. She took part in reality television shows. Charles enjoyed her lively company and included her in his skiing holidays. He and William were rewarded with embarrassing headlines. Cured from her drug addiction, Tara was given a second chance and was guest at the royal wedding, but William's trust in her was misplaced. During the newspaper hacking trials, Tara's role in supplying stories to the news of the world was revealed in court.
The Royal Circle of Trust is very unique. It's very special. It is the friends and family most trusted by the royal family, and there's only really one rule, and it's very simple. You don't talk, and you don't breach that confidence. And unfortunately, Tara Palmer-Tompkinson did breach the royals' confidence in probably what they consider as the most terrible way, and that was communicating with a tabloid newspaper.
William and Harry enjoy the challenge of competitive games, as well as friendly and exclusive bicycle polo matches, and have many friends in common. Their playmates grew into teenage pals, part of a very exclusive circle of trust. A select few would have fun with the young princes in a cellar nicknamed Club H at Charles's Gloucestershire home, Highgrove. And a few were lucky enough to be taken on luxurious holidays. In 1999, William and Harry took a group of pals nicknamed the Glossy Posse on a cruise with their father. One was Amelia Delanger, who happened to know both William and a certain Kate Middleton. It was no surprise when Amelia was among Prince George's godparents.
Amelia Delanger is one of William's oldest friends, which really started because they both lived in Gloucestershire. Amelia was at Marlborough School, and at school her very best friend was none other than Kate Middleton, who at that time was a fresh-faced young 17-year-old teenager. And through her connection with Amelia, she actually met Prince William when they were both at school. So this meeting at St Andrews, actually they'd met before.
In July 1981, one of the four Van Cutsem brothers, Edward, was a page boy at Charles and Diana's wedding. William, born the following year, grew up close to Edward. It was William Van Cutsem, the youngest brother, who became one of Prince George's 7 godparents.
William Van Cutsem is one of 4 Van Cutsem children who William and Harry grew up with. As little boys, they would spend a lot of time with the Van Cutsem family. I think they're probably the closest family to the Waleses out of all of their family friends.
The inclusion of Julia Samuel, a close friend of Diana, is a link to the late princess. William is now the royal patron of Julia's charity, Child Bereavement UK.
The choice of Julia Samuel was quite prescient because it was William's way of, I think, recognising Diana. Julia and Diana were very close friends. Julia runs a charity that Diana was heavily involved with, and from that charitable connection grew a lifelong friendship and a friendship that William inherited. And so it was his way of making sure that his mother was recognised.
Earl Grosvenor, 22, is the son of the Duke of Westminster.
The Grosvenor family friendship spans decades with the royal family. Hugh is the heir to a vast estate and a good friend who's been welcomed into the fold.
William's cousin, Zara Phillips, was the only royal godparent. She came with her rugby player husband, Mike Tyndall.
I think actually Zara was a really special choice, and I think that was it's a reflection of William's closeness to Zara, and also the fact that she and Kate get on very well. So I'm told that Zara was absolutely thrilled to be asked.
Kate's mother and father accompanied Pippa and brother James to the christening, surprisingly neither of whom were among the godparents.
Pippa wasn't asked to be a godparent. Again, a lot of expectation that alongside Harry she probably would be given that role, but actually she's just Auntie Pippa. She has a very hands-on role with George. Prince George spends far more time at the Middletons than I think any of us realise. But actually most of the time it's hanging out with Grandma and Grandpa, Mike and Carol, and also his aunt and uncle, Pippa and James.
For Carol, a former air hostess, it's a dream come true. The once ordinary Middleton family are now inextricably linked by marriage and bloodline to the Royal House of Windsor.
The Middletons are an easygoing, pleasant, middle-class family who have taken to being part of the wider royal family with great elan and aplomb. I mean, they're nice to look at. People seem to like them. They're doing the right kind of thing. They support Kate, and they seem to have adjusted to the enormous spotlight that has been shone on them. The fact that Mrs. Middleton is descended from a coal mining family, their whole family tree has been published at great length, and we know an awful lot about them. They have been described as social climbers. I don't think so. I think they've done their best to support their children. Kate and her sister and brother went to Marlborough, which is one of our top private schools. It costs a lot of money to send them there, but it turned out three perfect young people.
Kate had to overcome the doubts of the snobbier elements of William's circle, who expected him to marry an aristocratic girl rather than one from a middle-class background. It took a while for some to accept Kate.
Surprisingly, Kate mixed very well with William's tough friends. William has kept pretty much the same tight group of pals that he started to know when he was first away at school, Ludgrove, then Eton, and then at university. I think initially there was a bit of snobbery. We heard a few years ago that they thought she was a bit ordinary, a bit too middle class, but they get on well. I mean, she likes his friends like her. They all seem to get along really well.
In June 2014, Kate visited the restored Bletchley Park, where the famous wartime Enigma code was cracked. Her grandmother, Valerie Glassborough, worked there during World War II. She married Mike's father, Peter Middleton, in 1946.
The Middleton family connection with Bletchley is that Kate's grandmother was a code breaker, and a few months back Kate decided that she wanted to go to Bletchley Park and actually see the work that her grandmother had done, speak to some of the people that worked there, and it was quite lovely really that she got to uncover a little bit of her past.
The young princes grew up in divided homes with separated parents.
William's own memory of growing up was in a broken home. He had two parents, of course, but they didn't live together for the latter part of his teenage years, and it wasn't a happy home life. He found in the Middletons what a solid home life could be like, and he adored it. I mean, he used to go around there on a Sunday, and they'd serve a supper on trays. They'd be watching TV. They'd be chatting, playing games. He loved all that.
In 2012, the Middletons left their former home in Bucklebury, near Reading.
They moved from a very nice, fairly modern, detached house in a very pleasant Berkshire village to a much larger, grander manor house on the outskirts of the village. We don't know precisely how much it cost, but the rumour is that William helped subsidise the purchase of it, because the house has had a lot of modifications done to make it safe and secure for a member of the royal family and his family to stay there. And that all costs money. William, of course, has the money he inherited from his mother, which he was able to draw on once he turned 25. So he had the cash. So the rumour is he put in some money.
When Prince George Alexander Louis of Cambridge was christened 3 months after his birth, the public were out in force celebrating the occasion. A cavalcade of cars brought godparents and royal guests to the ceremony at the Chapel Royal St James's Palace. Thanks to baby George's place in the line of succession, this was an event that required marching guardsmen. And it required the presence of a great-grandmother who happens to be the Queen. She and Prince Philip were greeted by the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, and the Bishop of London, Richard Charters. Grandfather Charles and his wife Camilla, the Duchess of Cornwall, came too, as did the baby's uncle, Prince Harry. It was the first time the Queen had publicly greeted her 3 heirs in line, Charles, William and George. It was a happy day for all the family. It was also an historic occasion, the first time in over 100 years that a reigning monarch has been pictured with 3 male heirs to the throne. William was christened on August the 4th, 1982. It was the Queen Mother's 82nd birthday. The Queen looked delighted, seemingly unaware that new mother Diana was feeling excluded and unwell. Wearing a cream suit by Sarah Burton, Kate looked confident and happy on George's big day. His lace christening gown was an exact replica of the one made for Queen Victoria's children. Another valued guest at the christening was William and Harry's former nanny, Jessie Webb.
Jessie Webb was appointed by the couple at the end of the summer. It was very interesting. William and Kate didn't want a nanny in the first instance. They wanted to be hands-on parents. I think very much part of their dream to be normal and ordinary. And I think after 2 months of sleepless nights and a very hungry baby, because George cried a lot. He was a hungry baby. The Duchess said a couple of times when we were overseas in New Zealand that it was only when she started weaning him that she realised that he'd obviously been crying so much because he was hungry. And I think after a couple of months of sleepless nights, they realised that they needed more than just Carol. They needed a full-time nanny, and they wanted someone that was experienced. They wanted someone that they could trust, and William convinced Jessie Webb, who was his nanny many years ago, to come out of retirement. I think she was about 71 at the time, and come and help them out at Kensington Palace. So she spent a few months as the couple moved into their new home at Kensington Palace, really getting George into a routine, getting him down and sleeping through the night. And really, Jessie Webb was wonderful.
In 1991, aged 8, William was taken to Cardiff on March the 1st, St David's Day, for his first official engagement. When Charles is king, he's expected to make William Prince of Wales. Diana prepared for his future.
Well, his mother, Diana, was always keen to instruct. And so she was able to pass on this to William and say, look, William, it's going to be difficult. The press are going to be on you. Ignore them. Don't look at them. Always smile. Even if you feel unhappy, you don't want to do it. It's your job. You've got to do it. You can't say, I don't want to do this today. This is your job. And with that sort of encouragement and the love that he had for his mother, he was a success.
The boys first went to Wetherby, a day prep school near their home in London.
A short drive from Kensington Palace. Gets in the car, and his mother says, right, William, when we get out of the school, there are going to be lots of photographers. And he said in a sort of just William voice, I don't like photographers, right? Well, Diana said, well, you better get used to it because this is going to be with you for the rest of your life. Note how true a statement was that.
In 1991, Charles and Diana took William and Harry to church in Toronto during a tour of Canada. Diana taught them by her example.
She was much better with people, the common folk, if you like. She related to people on the street. The man on the street, she related to them. She had this dialogue. Her communication was such that she'd identify, she'd pick up something of somebody in the street. It might be a woman's coat or a man's pair of shoes, and she would say, oh, I like those shoes, or I love that. Where do you get that jacket from? Was it from John Lewis? Because people would sort of think, well, yeah, and off they go, they start talking.
The Queen's Scottish retreat, Balmoral Castle, is a Highland estate of 50,000 acres. There are managed herds of deer, Highland cattle and ponies. The Queen's great-grandfather, King Edward VII, encouraged blood sports there, beginning a long tradition of shooting, fishing and stalking. Already wealthy after Princess Diana's death, William will inherit Balmoral and the other royal estates when he is king.
William is rich because he inherited that large sum of money, half of the 17 million that Diana got in her divorce settlement, aged 25. So he's got that. There was also some money that his father has passed over to him. He didn't, however, inherit any money from the Queen Mother, who passed on a lot of her money to her great-grandchildren, because the view is that William will one day have, first of all, the Duchy of Cornwall, which sustains his father as Prince of Wales, and then obviously as king he'll have the keys to the kingdom and have as much money as he wants. I mean, clearly he is going to be a very wealthy young man, but at the moment he's certainly very comfortable.
After baby George's birth, William and Kate moved into Princess Margaret's old apartment in Kensington Palace, very near William and Harry's childhood home, with all its memories.
Or William will think exactly, about the experiences and lifestyle that he had at Kensington Palace with his mother and his father. And why would they not want to repeat that? He had a fantastic time there, to such an extent that he's actually gone back to his aunt's, Margot's old apartment. And so he's back at Kensington Palace. And he'll have vivid memories of the childhood there. And he'll want to pass on those memories and all the skills that he was taught by his mother and his father, and all the fun that he had at Wetherby and all the surrounding areas of Kensington Palace, pass on to his children.
Apartment 1A Kensington Palace will be their London base until William becomes king.
William's got very fond memories of Kensington Palace. That courtyard is where he first learned to ride a bike. It's where he spent so many special times with his mother.
At first, the couple lived in Nottingham Cottage, now Prince Harry's home, while a complete refurbishment of their apartment took place.
It's just undergone a huge and lengthy and very costly £4.5 million refurbishment. But finally, the Cambridges have their perfect family home. It's 3 stories. Most of the top story is the nursery with the nanny's accommodation. There's some wonderful entertaining space, and I think we'll see more official engagements held at Kensington Palace.
Anmer Hall on the Royal Sandringham Estate in Norfolk is now William and Kate's country home.
Anmer Hall was a gift to Prince William for his 30th birthday from the Queen, and it's a bolt hole, a very impressive bolt hole. It's a Georgian manor house which has also undergone a refurbishment, this time paid for by the couple rather than the taxpayer, because this is their private home. This is where they will retreat for weekends, and actually where they'll spend, I would imagine, much of the next couple of years, because Prince William has taken on a new job as an air ambulance pilot. He's going to be based in Norfolk, and the family will, I think, actually spend most of their time at Anmer Hall over the next couple of years.
In 2012, the Queen's Diamond Jubilee year, the couple made a tour of Malaysia and the Solomon Islands, all part of the Commonwealth. At a reception in Singapore, Kate delighted her hosts by wearing a dress by local-born designer Prabal Gurung. Then the couple was shown an orchid specially bred to mark their visit. They were touched by their host's kindness. They moved on to the Solomon Islands. Royal experts were impressed by their teamwork on their tours.
Watching William and Kate on these early royal tours abroad, and instantly you're sort of thrown back 30 years to when Charles and Diana did it. But sadly, rapidly, it became obvious in the marriage between Charles and Diana that things weren't happy. They weren't happy, and they did things separately. So you would have Charles and Diana walking down separate sides of the same street. Everybody always wanted to see Diana. She got all the attention. She got the limelight and the cameras. William and Kate, they're doing it together. They're doing it side by side. He's been immense at her side because he was worried that she would be overwhelmed by all the attention. But unlike his father, he's not jealous because the limelight's shining on his wife. He's proud, and he's happy for her, and he's there to support her.
Prince George will soon be joined by a baby brother or sister. After the failure of his parents' marriage, William's is a notable success.
Undoubtedly, this marriage has been good for the British monarchy, it's been good for the Commonwealth and all of its realms, and I think it's really given us something to look forward to. William and Kate and George are a projection of the future and the promise of the monarchy and what it holds for all of us to look forward to, and I think that's very special.
Every June, the Queen's official birthday is celebrated with Trooping the Colour. She is 88 and Prince Philip 93. As they age further, their pace of work programme may have to be reduced. Clearly, some of their royal duties and responsibilities will have to be delegated to younger members of the family in the years ahead. Prince Harry, Kate and Camilla, Duchess of Cornwall, understand this well. The burden will fall on Charles, then on William. Reshaping the monarchy will be their biggest challenge.
The monarchy has survived for 1,000 years simply by adapting and changing and reflecting the changing times. It will have to do so again. We're a much more meritocratic society in Britain today. So I think what will happen, we will have a smaller monarchy which will seem more relevant to the times we live in, a monarchy which will concentrate on the monarch and her immediate family.
Kate is the sister Harry never had. The warmth between William, Kate and Harry is evident. They have all proved themselves good royal representatives.
I think the Queen knew that William was going to be a successful young man. Her reservations were whether they'd work together as a team, and I think she's been immensely buoyed by the fact that they're clearly a great team, and they do it very well together. It's taken a lot of weight off her mind because she's, in her late 80s. She no longer has the physical stamina to do what she had to do, and William and Kate, and to a degree Harry, have had to step forward and take on many of her duties.
This summer they represented the Queen at the Tower of London's ceramic poppy field, remembering the First World War. As royal ambassadors, William and Kate encourage diplomacy and commerce. They generate goodwill and help to preserve the monarchy in the Commonwealth. And they raise the profile of charities. Kate is a fully fledged royal and William is a polished performer.
Thank you for the warmth and generosity that has been shown to us during our visit.
The future looks secure. William, the child of a broken home, has a wife whose role model is her own parents' long and happy marriage and their secure family life. One day, William and Kate will become king and queen and take on all the burdens of the throne. But for now, they can just enjoy the best of family and royal life, knowing that Charles and Camilla will face those roles and responsibilities long before them. The royal wedding marked the beginning of William and Kate's life as the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. The future for the royal couple is a life very different from their university romance. William and Kate are set to change the face of the British monarchy. Its very survival may depend on them. No other girlfriend but Kate was ever seen in public with William. It took a long time for him to be certain that Kate was the right one for him. Engaged after an 8-year courtship, the couple began their official duties before their wedding. William was sure that Kate was now ready to embrace her new life as his princess and a member of the Royal House of Windsor.
It did take a bit of time for us to get to know each other, but we did become, very close friends from quite early on.
The traumas of William's childhood helped to mould his character.
Everything about William you can trace back to what happened to his parents. He lived through the bitter breakup of their marriage. He knows how much what happened to them destroyed their marriage. He's very concerned not to make the same mistakes.
4 years before their wedding, William split from Kate, but he soon returned. It wasn't only Kate he missed, it was also her happy home life in a quiet English village and her loving parents, Carol and Michael.
Kate's family, she's got a very, very close family, and I get on really well with them, and I'm very lucky that they've been so supportive. Mike and Carol have only been, really sort of loving and caring and really fun, and have been really welcoming towards me, so I felt really part of the family, and I hope Kate's felt the same with my family.
She's been very loyal to him, very supportive, and for a kid from a broken home, which is after all what William is, he's always yearned towards the stable and towards the steady. And it's not just Kate that he is in love with, really, it's the family.
He's definitely found a maternal bond with her, and I think provided that lasts and he feels cosseted and adored and he has that kind of wonderful connectedness with her, the marriage will be long, happy, faithful, all those things.
Unlike other girls who have married future kings, Kate was just a commoner from humble beginnings. William will have to introduce her gently to the demands of royal life.
I think William will be incredibly supportive of Kate and ensure that she's looked after. We've seen it already, they've very much set their own agenda.
The Middleton family have made a remarkable rise to social prominence. Officially called Catherine, Kate Middleton has brought a modern, friendly touch to the royal family. She is now a princess and a future queen of Great Britain. As the Duchess of Cambridge, she is starting an amazing journey in life with the man she loves.
We're hugely excited, and we're looking forward to spending the rest of the rest of our lives together.
This young couple will have to ensure that the monarchy stays popular and relevant in an era of continuing social change. For their first public event as a married couple, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge were the guests of honour at the dazzling gala dinner for ARC, the children's charity. Wearing a shimmering pink dress, Kate was the main attraction amid the wealthy and famous, who raised over £17 million that night for disadvantaged children.
It is in this spirit that my brother, Catherine, and I hope to use our philanthropy as a long-term catalyst for meaningful change.
Just like William's mother Diana, they will help charitable causes.
Charity is very important both to William and Kate. Obviously, William strongly resembles his mother and would want his wife to be a humanitarian too.
The first affair of state attended by Kate after her wedding was the annual Trooping of the Colour ceremony. William took part wearing full military dress. Kate watched her husband riding in the parade. This is her new environment, surrounded by members of the royal family, all celebrating the Queen's official birthday in June. It was the Queen's big day, but inevitably all eyes were on the newlywed William, wearing his ceremonial bearskin and uniform, and on Kate. It was the first time she had stood on the palace balcony since her wedding. She will have to join the royal family for events like this for the rest of her life. William is a modern prince. He does not enjoy unnecessary protocol, but accepts that traditional displays like this are part of the royal world. 2 months before their wedding, William and Kate's first public engagement together was in Anglesey, the Welsh island where they have made a home. Royal National Lifeboat Institution asked them to launch a new lifeboat. A newspaper front page summed up the occasion. It was a great success. Kate joined in the singing in both Welsh and English. In February, the couple returned to St Andrews University, where their love story began.
This is a very special moment for Catherine and me. It feels like coming home. Despite being one of Europe's leading research institutions, the third oldest university in the English-speaking world.
They were first filmed together in 2003 when they were housemates. A year later, the truth was out when they holidayed together on the ski slopes. William wanted to protect his love from media attention, and he was too young to be sure about marriage. When he started St Andrews University in 2001, William wanted to be an ordinary student, shut away from the press and enjoying a normal life while he had the chance.
He's always been a lot older than his years. So by the time he was 19, he was very kind of wary of the outside world, deeply suspicious, and obviously, given what happened to his father, being eviscerated by the press, given what happened to his mother, he's got a very jaundiced view of the world.
Shortly before Charles's wedding to Camilla, William, then 22, was asked about his marriage.
Could there be another wedding perhaps on the card sometime soon?
No, I don't think so.
After university, Kate was still waiting for William's commitment.
They needed to decide where they were going to go from here. Clearly, it's a little bit different for them conducting a relationship in the full glare of the media and with all of the trappings that William's life as second in line to the throne has. And we understand that he may have had doubts. Was Kate the one for him? Clearly, he doesn't want to make any mistakes like his father did before him. There's pressure on him from the Queen and Prince Philip because they don't want any more divorces in the royal family. I think there were lots of question marks hanging over their relationship, which they needed to just take some time out and get a hold of and really make up their minds that they wanted to be together.
On Kate's 25th birthday in 2006, she was buzzed by the paparazzi who considered her fair game. But despite the pressures, Kate and her family remained discreet.
If you look at Kate and the whole history of the time they've been together, we've not had one kiss and tell, we've not had any former boyfriends coming out of the woodwork, we've had nothing from the Middletons. Now that has got to earn them huge favours, not only with Prince William and Harry, who value loyalty and discretion over everything, but also with people like the Queen and Prince Philip and Prince Charles, who, again, don't want anyone speaking out of turn.
After university, William undertook a specially tailored training scheme in each of the 3 armed forces. As king, he will be commander-in-chief of all branches of the British military. After long stints away in the army, he spent a short period with the Navy. It was his Royal Air Force training that he liked best. That determined his choice of career as a search and rescue pilot. Flying fixed-wing aircraft and later helicopters became a passion. He described flying solo as an amazing feeling. William and Kate had been together for 8 years when they announced their engagement. They were both 28 years old. His parents hardly knew each other when they became engaged. Diana was 19, Charles 31.
I'm amazed that she's been brave enough to take me on. And I suppose in love. Of course. Whatever in love means.
There were no embarrassing hesitations with William and Kate on the day of their engagement.
If you look back to the photographs of Charles and Diana and that dreadful comment he made, which when he was nervous about whatever love means. I mean, you can imagine if William had said that to Kate, she'd have given him a smart tap on the shoulder.
So it did take a bit of time for us to get to know each other, but we did become, very close friends from quite early on.
William had kept Diana's engagement ring after her death, and he gave it to Kate when he proposed to her.
It's my mother's engagement ring. So I thought it was quite nice because obviously she's not going to be around to share any of the fun and excitement of it all. This was my way of keeping her sort of close to it all.
I guess we better have a look at it. What kind of ring is it? Are you an expert on what's...
I'm not an expert on it at all. I've been reliably informed it's a sapphire with some diamonds, but I'm sure everyone recognises it from previous times. So.
It was a poignant reference to his parents' lives.
Everything about William you can trace back to what happened to his parents. He lived through the bitter breakup of their marriage. He knows how much what happened to them destroyed their marriage. He's very concerned not to make the same mistakes. I suspect there are all sorts of things running through his mind about all this, what happened to his parents, particularly what happened to his father, who clearly made a terrible choice when he was a young man, and he doesn't want to do that.
Thank you, yes, it's a normal colour.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You can't remember how many times you dyed it now, can you?
No, I don't. My hair was like really angry at me for a minute there.
Yeah.
In 2007, singer Joss Stone helped William and Harry organise a concert in Diana's memory. Amid the big names from the entertainment world, William still had the star quality that has impressed many people.
I remember seeing him at St Mary's Hospital. He returned to the birthing unit where he was born, and nurses were literally swooning in the corridors because he was around. He has got that X factor, but whether he's comfortable with that is another matter, and I don't think we'll see him doing the kind of performing, perhaps, that his mother was famous for.
Sorry to keep you all waiting. I'll try and keep on time next time, it'll be better.
What we also know about Prince William is, while he is very much his own man and certainly won't be told what to do, he likes to decide it for himself, he's also been very clever in surrounding himself by an extremely tight-knit group of friends, the so-called circle of trust, friends from Eton, for instance, who really he now trusts implicitly. And Kate is at the centre of that. Often you'll see Kate go out without him, being chaperoned by one of his very old friends from the Eton days. And I think by doing that, William's almost cocooned himself from the outside world, in that he knows who he can trust and he knows that these people aren't going to be leaking stories.
William was an usher at the wedding of his old pal Edward Van Cutsem and the Duke of Westminster's daughter Tamara. Some of his social set were slow to accept Kate.
When Catherine met William, she was really punching above her social weight. She was, after all, a girl from a middle-class home dealing with the upper classes, where everybody who came for dinner was Lord or Lady this. The Van Cutsem family, for example, great friends of the royals, especially of Prince Charles. You know, mixing in those kinds of circles, she will have felt early on quite intimidated about it. And I remember that one of their friends telling me that Catherine didn't like the fact that she'd be cooking in the kitchen and being treated a bit like a skivvy, and William would be chatting away to some lord or lady who was a student at the college. So it did that social divide did create tensions early on in the relationship. Now Catherine is friendly with most of William's friends.
There is some snobbery towards Kate Middleton, who's very cruelly, I think, and unfairly become known as Kate Middle Class. She is a middle-class girl, essentially, from Berkshire, but it seems to be William's friends, some of William's friends, that have a problem with it.
Like his father before him, William loves polo, a game for rich players that attracts the higher echelons of society. Kate has learned to mix with the polo playing set, who form William's friendship circle. This has not been easy.
They are known as the Glossy Posse. They're the set that come from Gloucestershire. They mix with William at Highgrove, and they are essentially the sons and daughters of wealthy, blue-blooded aristocrats, and they are the ones that can be terribly snobby.
When William began St Andrews University at 19, he was one of the world's most eligible bachelors. Inevitably, his choice of bride became a source of media speculation. Kate was just one of a number of girls linked with him. Before her, the student prince had an adorning circle of rich and well-connected admirers. But which one would become his princess? The guessing game continued for years. Among early suitors and possible contenders was his childhood friend Jecka Craig. The palace even denied reports of romance. Just before he dated Kate, he had a 6-week fling with fellow student Carly Massey Birch.
And Catherine will have seen him with all these very pretty girls, you know, Carly Massey Birch, who's still a friend, Olivia Hunt, other girls, who are all, you know, fabulous looking socialites and so on. But she has triumphed over all of them. So she will be able to take a degree of comfort from that. And quite frankly, you know, she's a very good looking girl herself.
When William and Kate separated for a while, the split was blamed on his army life, but that was only part of the story. He just wasn't ready to make Kate his bride when he had years of military training ahead.
I think Kate pushed him into a corner. I think she wanted some more commitment. William was very hard at work at the military, very busy. He had exams, training. He was very involved with his military commitments. And I think at the same time, it had been increasingly difficult for them to spend time together. William would spend Monday to Fridays at the barracks in Bovington, so his time was completely taken up with military commitments. And at the weekends, he ended up staying up with his new friends, his new army pals. He didn't want to come back down to London every weekend.
It's pretty simple, really. Prince William thought he could do better. Thought the grass was greener on the other side. I mean, and as a prince, you walk into a room and you get used to the fact that every single woman in the room is looking at you and thinking, I fancy my chances there. And Catherine, she wanted more commitment from him. He wouldn't give it. They split up. She did what girls who've been jilted for centuries have done. She put on a brave face, went out and had fun, and seemed like she didn't have a care in the world. She put on something that was short, high and tight, looked great, and he was there watching the newspapers and thinking, I don't want somebody having a roll in the hay with my girl. I'd better get back with her.
After a brief spell apart, William realised what he had lost and that he might never find anyone as good as Kate. He was soon on his motorbike, romancing Kate again at her home in the village of Bucklebury. It wasn't only Kate he missed, it was also her happy, comfortable home life. The self-made Middletons became the role models for his future. The family joined Kate when William finished his army training at Sandhurst Military Academy, with the traditional ceremony watched by the Queen. Their presence was taken as a sign that Kate had become the official girlfriend of the Prince, and her very ordinary family were important to him. Her mother Carol was an air hostess, her father Michael a flight dispatcher, before they started a party goods business that made them millionaires, enabling them to send their children to expensive schools. Some of William's snootier friends poked fun at Kate's mother because of her working class roots, but he's been very loyal to the family. The Middletons will share in the upbringing of William and Kate's children, the next generation in line to the throne.
I think William is incredibly close to Kate's family. He spends a lot of time with them and he's very fond of them. He is attracted to the stable upbringing and background she's had, and I'm sure that he and Kate will want to replicate her childhood for their own children.
Kate enjoyed normal childhood activities like joining the Brownies. A tall, rather pale and shy girl who blossomed into a beauty when she grew up, she was always secure in her parents' love.
One of the things which attracted him to Catherine and also to the Middleton family is the fact that they're a safe, steady, stable family. And much of their courtship was spent at Bucklebury, the family home, having a quiet pint in the local pub, away from prying eyes, away from long lenses, but just enjoying casual, normal life with the Middleton family.
William's girlfriend became public property, with every aspect of her childhood and schooling examined in the press. Journalists went in search of the schoolgirls who tormented a teenage Kate Middleton and unearthed memories of bullying. Even distant members of her family were victims of media exposure. Her student brother was caught wearing fancy dress. The most damaging criticism was about Kate's lack of a proper career. A graduate in art history, she worked part-time for her parents' business and for a fashion company called Jigsaw.
I think Kate's in an invidious position. She has been with William for a long time, 8 years, and to have to go into work every morning and not be able to talk about what you did the night before, it is very difficult. She's had to trust people, and she's worked with her family. Saying that, many people in this country work for the family business. It's not that unusual, of all backgrounds, and she's been working quietly behind the scenes and helping them earn a living.
In 2008, William and his fellow RAF cadets were presented with their wings by Prince Charles. Waiting inside was Kate, sitting next to Diana's sister, Lady Sarah McCorquodale. As William stepped up to receive his award from his proud father, Kate was watching. Note how William turns to see Kate's reaction before leaving the platform, and how Kate noticed his attention. William was happy and relaxed, starting out in the branch of the military that he loved best. He joined the group photo with Charles and his stepmother, Camilla. He has long accepted Charles's second marriage and welcomed Camilla as a companion for his father. As another royal wife, Camilla will prove a good advisor for Kate. In choosing a career in the Air Force, William was departing from traditional royal service, usually in the Army or Navy. William would do things his way, and Kate would wait for William until the time was right for marriage.
I think Kate has taken on the role and knows what is expected of her. There are benefits and there are downfalls to any job, and she has signed up for it and is welcoming it with open arms.
As Princess Elizabeth, the Queen married Prince Philip in 1947. After seeing so many royal divorces, she now welcomes girls from less elevated backgrounds into her family.
The Queen particularly is quite in favour of someone rather unattractively termed a commoner marrying the younger members of the royal family, because she sees middle-class girls with a good university education as a better bet than perhaps the kind of aristocratic prima donnas that might have been singled out for princes in the days gone by. Her experience with people who are less common, say Fergie, who was a commoner of sorts, but yet she was the daughter of an army officer, and so she probably was from the higher echelons than somebody like Kate Middleton. They've gone disastrously wrong. So maybe she's quite happy for people who are just stable, communal garden, middle-class girls.
When the Queen was crowned in 1953, she was the 26-year-old mother of two young children, Charles and Anne. Huge responsibilities were placed on her.
William and Kate's marriage will be completely different from the Queen's in terms of having children and producing an heir. The Queen was the monarch and a mother and had to juggle two very difficult roles at a time when she came to the throne. Prince William is going to spend his early married years out of the limelight to a certain extent. He's not working as a working royal as such. And his father has yet to ascend to the throne, so William and Kate will probably be able to bring up their family before he even has to think of ruling the country.
Among the guests at the royal wedding were William's uncle, Prince Edward, and his wife, Sophie. Like Kate, she came from an ordinary background. They married in 1999, and theirs had proved to be one of the most successful royal marriages. Sophie, too, faced media scrutiny. But as a successful public relations executive running her own company, she was well prepared.
Sophie Rhys-Jones, Prince Edward's wife, is a perfect example of somebody who's slotted into the royal family brilliantly. And this, let's face it, is the daughter of a tyre salesman. But because she's very level-headed and she's very together and she's led a so-called normal life, she's fitted in perfectly, and now she's extremely close to the Queen.
30 years ago, Lady Diana Spencer brought youth and glamour to the royal family. Since her tragic death in 1997, no one has taken her place so far in the nation's heart.
If there's going to be anyone that's going to be replacing Diana, then it's going to be Prince William's wife. And I think if she's got that dazzle factor, which Kate does appear to have, she appears to be able to sell newspapers and intrigue cameramen, then clearly she's a very good bet for the royal family.
As Princess Elizabeth, the Queen spent the first 5 years of her marriage with Prince Philip in Malta, where she was on naval duty.
Kate's early married life is going to be very similar to that of the Queen's when she lived in Malta. Kate will be spending her first years as a newlywed, living in a cottage in Anglesey, and the Queen obviously spent her life as a military wife too.
Flight Lieutenant William Wales, as he's known in the Royal Air Force, pilots Sea King helicopters, sometimes flying over the mountains of North Wales in treacherous weather. After a long day or night with his colleagues, he goes back home to Kate at their cottage near his base at RAF Valley in Anglesey. It's a life he much prefers to his royal duties.
He's only done a handful of royal engagements. He's done a couple of short royal tours on his own. He's not really being a fully fledged member of the royal family firm. So in a way, he's learning the ropes just as she is. And he's not used to being the star of the show. He's left that to his dad. For a boy who likes to be out of the limelight, likes to be watching soccer on TV, watching a movie, he'll be thrilled if the burden of taking on public duties is left to Catherine.
Her official job will be providing support to her husband. They will be expected to make foreign tours, like their first destinations to Canada and California. At home in North Wales, she's a real housewife of Anglesey, shopping and cooking for her husband and running their cottage without full-time staff.
She's an organised girl. She's always been that way. She's the kind of girl who enjoys things like sewing and knitting, and she was taught to do that by her grandmother. And I always find it interesting that the sewing that was so beautiful on the wedding dress, again, that's an influence of Catherine's. She's a girl who's organised in a very feminine way.
In 1983, Diana and Charles took baby William on tour to Australia and New Zealand. It was a very arduous trip. Later, Diana said, "I realised the sense of duty, the level of intensity of interest, and the demanding role I now found myself in."
She was frazzled, poor kid. I mean, I remember meeting her for the first time in Australia in 1983, April. She was suntanned, she was red, she was hot, she was bothered, she was nervous. She started that tour as a very nervy colt, shall we say, and she emerged at the end of it after 6 weeks of being on the road, a seasoned royal performer. And I think that with Catherine, you're going to see the same things.
But Kate has had a longer time to prepare than Diana. She was well groomed by the time she began royal duties. In Belfast on Shrove Tuesday, as William's fiancée, she happily entered into the spirit of pancake tossing. She may fare much better than Diana.
I hope that she didn't cope with it like Diana, because for the first few years, Diana just was overwhelmed. She was pregnant inside the royal family within 3 months. She was suffering from an eating disorder, bulimia nervosa. She was very suspicious of Prince Charles's relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles. On top of that, she was decorating a new house, and that's something else that Catherine's got to think about.
In 1969, 20-year-old Charles was invested as Prince of Wales. William might also become a Prince of Wales one day. When Charles accedes to the throne, William automatically becomes Duke of Cornwall, benefiting from the Duchy's rich estates and revenues. The Duchy's income is over £17 million a year. William comes from an extremely wealthy family, with palatial private homes like Balmoral in Scotland, Sandringham in Norfolk. Charles's country home is Highgrove in Gloucestershire. One day, all this will be William's. Then there's Clarence House, where William and Kate lived for a while. Now the couple are moving into an apartment in Kensington Palace, very near to Diana's old home, with its memories of where William and Harry grew up. William is a countryman at heart. Like the rest of the royal family, he enjoys country pursuits such as hunting. Can he and Kate, with her ordinary background, really be compatible?
Their charts are sort of mirror image of each other, which means that they really come from the same place. They view the world in the same way, through the same lens. So there's a tremendous amount of sharing and caring and connection, and all those kind of really, really good things make a marriage work.
On Royal Wedding Day, television cameras recorded the royal guests arriving at Westminster Abbey. Then came Tara Palmer-Tompkinson, a reformed drug addict. Her stunning wedding outfit was deployed to divert attention from her new nose treatment, undertaken to combat the ravages of her cocaine abuse in the past. And William may have to be wary of people who use their royal connections as Tara has frequently done. The Palmer-Tompkinsons are rich landowners and part of the court that surrounds Charles and Camilla. Tara's proximity to Charles and his sons has raised concern in the past. William will have to choose his own court carefully. His social circle should reflect a wider Britain than his father's does. Prince William's polo playing set still form the nucleus of his sporting circle. He still enjoys the company of an exotic set of the very rich and privileged. Charles also played polo as a young man. He met Camilla at a polo match in the early 1970s. She became his secret married mistress, the third person in his marriage to Diana. Many years later, Charles confessed their long affair. Now some wonder if history will repeat itself with William. During their long courtship, Kate was aware that other girls were attracted to him. But William has shown her total commitment since their short separation. Although women may still find him attractive, hopefully he will remain faithful and not take a mistress like his father did.
No woman knows whether they're going to tolerate their husband's mistress until they discover it and have to confront it. I think that Catherine has proved herself to be very loyal, very patient, and also very forgiving. But I don't think this is a relationship where they go into it thinking it's going to fall apart. They made their vows in front of the world, not just the Archbishop of Canterbury.
Charles married his mistress Camilla in 2005. She is now the Duchess of Cornwall, but she has not found her royal role easy. Charles and Camilla have an understanding that she needs her own space with her family of her first marriage.
Camilla retreats more and more to her old home, Raymill House, which she kept after marrying Charles very wisely as a bolt hole. It is one of the few places where she really feels she can sort of kick off her shoes and sort of be a little bit more liberated. I think she is finding adjusting to royal life quite demanding. She's not a great fan of royal tours or royal engagements, but you know, she's made her bed and she's got to lie in it.
With the scandals of their past behind them, Charles and Camilla have made a good marriage, uniting their two families. Camilla is gradually being accepted by the public.
I think Charles's second marriage is obviously a much better match, and he had to wait a very long time to get there. And so it's almost like, you know, over the years they proved themselves as a couple. The interesting thing is that how much do we change as people? I mean, we gain in our experience and wisdom, I hope, but we're always essentially the same person. And so Charles is always who he is, and he has a kind of awkward chart. He's a, you know, it's not an easy fit when you start looking at love and relationships. It's full of idealism and romanticism and not being very good at reality. So he was going to find that an obstacle with whoever he was with. I think what's curious here is that Camilla has many features in her chart that Diana did as well. So in a way, he's just got a kind of older version of the same record. Only, of course, Camilla had a different upbringing, a different life, you know, all those things make her different. But there are some really interesting connections between Diana, Camilla, and Charles.
In 2006, a year after their own wedding, Charles and Camilla attended the wedding of Laura, Camilla's daughter from her first marriage. The bride arrived with her father, Camilla's ex-husband, Andrew Parker Bowles. Divorce and remarriage had become a fact of life for the royal family, as for so many others in the land. Laura, who married Harry Lopez, is now William and Harry's stepsister. Her brother Tom is their stepbrother. Among the wedding guests was William's girlfriend, Kate. She was clearly at ease with Camilla's relatives. For the first time, Kate looked like the princess she would become. The press stepped up their speculation on her marriage to William. William's younger cousins, Beatrice and Eugenie, were at the royal wedding with their father, Prince Andrew. Their mother, Sarah Ferguson, was banned because of her numerous scandals. As the Duke and Duchess of York, they had also married at Westminster Abbey, but the couple separated and divorced. Their girls were close to William and Harry in childhood, sharing holidays in both sun and snow.
Improving, you see, very good.
They're improving.
Very good skills.
Richard, sorry, could you ask for
As royal children, they had to pose for photo calls, something Kate never did until her engagement to William.
Yes, it'll be good fun. Very good. Enjoy it.
Tiggy Leg Burke was a much-loved young nanny who shared many adventures with the young princes. She was brought in to help Charles with his boys after the couple's separation. But Diana was jealous of the influence she had over her sons. Daredevil Harry flourished under her guidance, and her kindness helped him to deal with the loss of his mother when he was only 12. A year after Diana's death, William and Harry arrived in Canada for a brief visit with their father. Teenage girls treated the boys like rock stars. William was overwhelmed by it, but Harry lapped it up. Harry became a career soldier, serving on the front line in Afghanistan as a forward air controller with his regiment, the Blues and Royals. He is determined to return there later this year. His on-off girlfriend, the South African Chelsea Davy, has had to cope with his passion for polo and his long absences on army duty. Their torrid romance has lasted several years.
Oh, it's a real love match. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's great passion between the two of them when they're together. The tension is visible, there's electricity, there's sparks flying everywhere. You can tell that they have a very volatile relationship, tremendous shouting matches, screaming rows, but then they get back together again. I would say that of all the royal romances currently going on, theirs was the real true thing. It's a real deal. And I suspect, unless something catastrophic happens, they will marry, but it'll be a very tempestuous marriage.
Astrologically, they're a perfect match. They're like a match like Catherine and William. And it's hard for me to see how he will replace her, Chelsea, with anyone else. I think it's a strong bond, and we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Harry says that Kate is like a sister to him. He spoke about her before a charity trek in Norway.
He's gonna, at the end of the day, he's gonna walk down that aisle with his wife. So that's fantastic.
With Kate married into the House of Windsor, media speculation has shifted to her younger sister, Pippa. Also dark-haired and attractive, Pippa is now Britain's most eligible girl and is tipped to marry a man with a stately home. Pippa was much admired for her appearance as Kate's maid of honour. Shortly before her sister's marriage, she attended the wedding of the Duke of Northumberland's daughter at Alnwick Castle, the setting for Hogwarts in the Harry Potter films. Pippa is an old friend of the bride's brother. The media have tried to matchmake Harry with Pippa. A union of the princes and the sisters would be an extraordinary double match. Chelsea Davy also attended the Northumberland wedding. This group of wealthy friends move in the same social circles as William and Kate, but can they connect well with ordinary people too? On their last public engagement before their wedding, William and Kate visited Blackburn in Lancashire, one of the poorer parts of the country. Kate was now a polished performer, ready to take on the royal life ahead of her. The couple opened a new state school, clearly at ease with the pupils and happy in each other's company. Kate is now finding married life all she hoped it would be. When Pippa arrived at Westminster Abbey, she was in charge of the bridal party, which included the 8-year-old Tom, son of Tiggy Leg Burke, William's former nanny. Tom is the blonde boy behind the bridesmaids. The great and the good, the famous and the unknown, politicians and potentates, friends and relatives, all assembled for the wedding of the century. Kate, whose family tree includes coal miners, came to Westminster Abbey to marry her prince. This was a real-life fairy tale come true for the whole Middleton family.
In looking at William's need for a kind of maternal bond with his woman, it's interesting to me that he may well feel a kind of attraction towards older women and need that kind of sense that he missed to a degree with his own mother dying so early. And maybe it explains too why he felt that kind of strong bond with Catherine's mother, Carol Middleton, who would have naturally kind of, wanted to make him feel loved as a mother can do.
The Middletons have already played a great role by producing a girl as delightful as Catherine, who will help William lead the monarchy through into the 21st century. But they've also shown their mettle during the royal wedding. I mean, Pippa looked fabulous, James read very well, Michael and Carol really were the doting, loving parents, and they added to the spectacle, added to the sense of the family. So, if the royal wedding was the renewal of the vows between the monarchy and the nation, the Middletons played a very significant part in that.
When the Queen came to see her grandson marry, she must have recalled the wedding of Charles and Diana 30 years before. Unlike Kate, Diana was the daughter of an earl with a stately home and proud ancestral lineage. People wonder what she would have made of her son's choice of bride.
I think Diana would be rather jealous, actually, of the fact that Catherine has already got a very finished fashion sense, that she's very much in control, very capable, with a great eye for detail. Diana always wanted a daughter, always wanted to mentor a daughter through the labyrinthine world of the royal family. She'd have enjoyed teaching Catherine the ropes, but there'd have been a twinge of jealousy that she was passing on the fashion baton from one generation to the next.
William's commitment and love of Kate evokes the unconditional love that Diana gave William. Kate wears Diana's ring. She will live in her old palace, and she will devote her life to Diana's son. Could having a couple so popular, in line to the throne, have consequences for Charles and Camilla?
Prince Charles is the longest serving Prince of Wales in history. He's not going to give up his chance of ruling, of being sovereign, nor would Prince William want him to. He wants to remain in the background for as long as he can. But sadly, the opinion polls have been against Prince Charles for the last 20 years. For 20 years, the British public have wanted William over Charles to be king. And if, quite frankly, if the House of Windsor was a popularity contest, William would win it hands down.
The world of William and Kate is closer to that of their subjects than any other members of the British royal family. They are the great hope for its survival. Added to that, rumours have been around for a long time that some people do not see Charles becoming king.
Many years ago, I was looking at Prince Charles's chart and I felt he might not make it as king. And I remember at the time it was very shocking and people were sort of very, concerned about how could you see that in a horoscope. Well, nothing's changed in my mind. I'm still not sure he'll be king. Now, there may be many reasons for this. It may be that, the Queen goes on for many, many years. She has a long life ahead of her, like her mother. So by the time, there is the succession due, Charles could be even in his mid-80s, and he might not make it that long. So there are all sorts of reasons why we might not see a King Charles and why we might see a King William next. And I think we have to wait and see how things pan out in the fullness of time. But I think we've got a while to wait.
William and Kate are the golden couple of the House of Windsor. Their wedding has won the hearts of the British public. What will their future hold?
I think when you see William and Catherine together being married, the very next thing, it's like when a couple get married, when are they going to have a baby? But with William and Catherine, it's really, what kind of king and queen are they going to make? It's the interest of, how they will be in the years to come, presiding over a Britain that may go through all sorts of sea changes. And I mean, you can see straight off the bat in just the way they stand together, who they are as people. This is going to be a great royal couple. They are going to be the right couple for the right time for Britain.
William and Kate's wedding has heralded a new and exciting era in the history of the British royal family. Maybe the best is yet to come. The newlywed Duke and Duchess of Cambridge began a lifetime of foreign tours with a visit to Canada on behalf of Queen and Country. Their happiness shone through all the ceremonies. And Catherine, known to the world as Kate, received a rapturous welcome. In one golden year, they've succeeded in making the royals relevant once more. In this programme, we look at their first magical year of marriage and how they've adapted to their private life and public duties. We reveal how Kate prepared for nearly a decade for her role as a princess, national ambassador and style icon. Responding to an international crisis and committing to charity work, the couple have brought a fresh meaning to the monarchy. As Britain's heir-in-line and his future queen celebrate their first wedding anniversary, we look back at the year that made them the most famous couple in the world. Canada, summer 2011. There was little sign of Republican feeling when thousands turned out to welcome the royal guests of honour. Just 2 months after their spectacular wedding, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge were on their first official foreign tour. It was a charm offensive to one of the most important parts of the Commonwealth. The final stop was Calgary, home of Canada's Cowboys. William and Kate had come to launch the annual Wild West Rodeo, the Calgary Stampede. The 9-day visit of the prince and his new wife had surpassed all expectations. Amusing events like this disguised the serious intention of the tour. This young, attractive couple, with their unstuffy and friendly approach, had come to preserve Canada's link with the monarchy. It was Kate's first big test as a member of the royal family, representing the Queen abroad. She and William worked as a team.
It wasn't just Catherine that created that reception, it was both of them. What was so lovely, and I think probably of great relief to Prince William and certainly to his courtiers, was that the attention to them was to both of them. It wasn't all about Kate. Of course, there was a curiosity, as you would expect. We just had the royal wedding. There was such heightened interest in our new Duchess of Cambridge, the future Queen of England. Of course, you would expect that. But the Canadians were just as happy to see Prince William. I mean, they absolutely adored him. And what they did was they worked as a package. I think in those events leading up to Ottawa, the engagements that Kate and William took on as a couple, they very much learned how to do the royal walkabout. So you'll notice that when they arrive at something, they'll split, and one will take one bank of people and the other will take the other. But there is equal adoration and praise and affection for both of them. It was not a case of Charles and Diana where everyone just wanted to see Diana and only people wanted to see Kate. They wanted to see both of them as a package.
On July the 1st, Canada Day, Kate wore the national colours of red and white. 500,000 lined the streets of Ottawa to see the royal superstars in their first carriage ride since their wedding. And the crowds still grew to welcome William and Kate. The temperature reached a sweltering 90 degrees and everyone was feeling the effect.
No one quite knew how they were going to be received. And when they first landed in Ottawa, I mean, the cheers and the roar of applause was just so huge. I mean, it was just absolute adoration.
In French-speaking Quebec, William pleased everyone by making his first public speech in French, thanking them for their warm reception.
Nous débutons aujourd'hui notre première tournée ensemble. Nous ne pouvions pas être mieux accompagnés que par la grande famille canadienne.
Kate was relieved that William's speech had been faultless, but he joked about his accent.
It will improve as we go on.
The couple moved on to Prince Edward Island. In a cooler and damper climate, William learned a new skill as a search and rescue helicopter pilot. In a Sea King helicopter, he practiced waterbird landings, a technique used by the Canadians, but not by the British Royal Air Force. Kate watched anxiously from the shore as William easily mastered the tricky manoeuvre, showing a high level of piloting skills. Then it was time for a dragon boat race. Kate had once trained with an all-female crew. Now she was out to prove her skills against William's all-male team. The two teams rowed furiously across the 200 feet course, with William's team crossing the line marginally ahead. Afterwards, a loving cuddle delighted onlookers. This is one royal marriage that will surely withstand temptations.
William is very affable and easygoing, and I feel that if William misbehaved, which is possible because those Windsor men are not renowned for their fidelity, I think that Kate would turn a blind eye. She wanted this marriage more than anything, and I think she loves William very deeply, and she will make a very happy life for him, and there will be no reason for it not to work.
From Canada to California and a dazzling charity dinner with old friends like David Beckham, Kate and William met Hollywood's most glamorous celebrities. Like Diana's old friend Tom Hanks and some well-known faces.
They're flying the flag high, and it's great to see, and they're very glamorous as well.
You brought back to life Clark Gable and Marilyn Monroe. They wouldn't excite Americans this much.
Oh, they make me smile. I love them.
I saw Nicole Kidman literally just go to jelly. She met both of them, and everyone wanted a little piece of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. Tom Hanks was someone who he had a real rapport and connection with. They've actually met before. But, I mean, William was in his element talking films with the stars of the movies. They had a quality about them that none of the Hollywood stars possessed. And I guess that quality is being royal.
For a start, I'd just like to thank Colin Firth for my perfect opening line. I have a voice. I'm glad you got there at the end. It was good.
For their first public event as a married couple, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge were guests of honour at a gala dinner for the children's charity ARC. In a shimmering pink dress by designer Jenny Packham, Kate was the main attraction amid the wealthy and famous. The event raised over £17 million for disadvantaged children. Kate knew that all eyes were on her and that the media would analyse her appearance. Accompanied by his stunning wife, William had grown in self-confidence. He spoke with candour and honesty.
I know that I am very fortunate. I've had a good education, a secure home, and a loving and supportive family. So many young people, however, do not have these advantages, and as a result, can lack the confidence and knowledge to realise their full potential.
Charity is very important both to William and Kate. Obviously, William strongly resembles his mother and would want his wife to be a humanitarian too.
The first affair of state attended by Kate after her wedding was the annual Trooping of the Colour ceremony. William took part wearing full military dress. Kate proudly watched her husband riding in the parade. This is her new environment, surrounded by members of the royal family, all celebrating the Queen's official birthday in June. It was the Queen's big day, but inevitably attention was on the newlywed William, wearing his ceremonial bearskin and guards uniform. And crowds crammed into the Mall to see Kate standing on the palace balcony for the first time since her wedding. She would join the royal family for events like this for the rest of her life. Inevitably, Kate will be compared with William's mother, Princess Diana, the last big royal star.
I don't think Kate has got that dazzle factor of Diana, because Diana was a tragedy. You know, Diana walked along the route of people waiting to see her, and she told them little things about her life. And we knew so much about Diana. We're never going to know that much about Kate. I mean, Kate's been around now for 9 years. We know nothing about her. Nothing really about her. Maybe there's nothing to know. But with Diana, 9 years in, we knew everything about her. I mean, I remember Diana saying to me, "You even know how many fillings I've got in my teeth." But we don't know anything about Kate.
On their last public engagement before their wedding, William and Kate visited Blackburn in Lancashire, one of the poorer parts of the country. Guided by William, Kate was learning the royal way fast, ready to take on the life ahead of her. The couple opened a new state school and were clearly at ease with the pupils, and their own happiness evident to all. A newspaper front page summed up Kate's joy and hopes for the future. 2 months before their wedding, William and Kate's first public engagement together was in Anglesey, the Welsh island where they've made a home. The Royal National Lifeboat Institution asked them to launch a new lifeboat.
May God bless her and all that sail in her.
Kate performed the launch without a hitch. After the launch, Kate joined in the singing in both Welsh and English. The couple made a sentimental journey back to St Andrews University, where their romance began.
This is a very special moment for Catherine and me. It feels like coming home. Despite being one of Europe's leading research institutions, the third oldest university in the English-speaking world.
When William began St Andrews University at 19, he was one of the world's most eligible bachelors. His choice of bride became a source of media speculation. Kate was just one of a number of girls linked with William. Before her, the student prince had an adoring circle of rich and well-connected admirers. But which one of this bevy of beauties would become his princess? The newspaper's guessing game continued for years. Kate's main rival was William's childhood friend, Jecka Craig. The palace even denied reports of a romance. And before he started dating Kate, he had a 6-week fling with fellow student Carly Massey Birch.
Catherine will have seen him with all these very pretty girls, you know, Carly Massey Birch, who's still a friend, Olivia Hunt, other girls who are all, you know, fabulous looking socialites and so on. But she has triumphed over all of them. So she will be able to take a degree of comfort from that. And quite frankly, you know, she's a very good looking girl herself.
In 2007, William and Kate temporarily separated. The split was blamed on his military life. After university, they found it hard to keep their romance on track. William wasn't ready to make Kate his bride when he had years of military training ahead. William was very hard at work with his military commitments, and it became increasingly difficult for the couple to spend time together. He spent weekdays in the barracks and then enjoyed time off with his fellow servicemen. He had to do well in all aspects of military service. Like his grandmother, the Queen, one day he would be head of all the armed forces, but his career opened up new experiences away from Kate.
It's pretty simple, really. Prince William's alpha A male, red-blooded, thought he could do better. Thought the grass was greener on the other side. I mean, and as a prince, you walk into a room and you get used to the fact that every single woman in the room is looking at you and thinking, I fancy my chances there. And Catherine, she wanted more commitment from him. He wouldn't give it. They split up. She did what girls who've been jilted for centuries have done. She put on a brave face, went out and had fun, and seemed like she didn't have a care in the world. She put on something that was short, high and tight, looked great, and he was there watching the newspapers and thinking, I don't want somebody having a roll in the hay with my girl. I'd better get back with her.
After a brief spell apart, William soon realised what he had lost and that he might never find anyone as good as Kate. He was soon on his motorbike romancing Kate again at her home in the village of Bucklebury. It wasn't only Kate he missed, it was also her happy, comfortable home life with her parents, sister and brother. This became his ideal, and the Middletons became the role models for his future with Kate. The whole family had joined Kate when William finished his army training at Sandhurst, with a traditional passing out ceremony in the presence of the Queen. At such a high-profile event, their presence was taken as a sign that Kate had become the official girlfriend of the prince and that her family were important to him. Kate's mother was an air hostess and her father a flight dispatcher before they started a party goods business that made them millionaires. William's snootier friends poked fun at Kate's mother because of her working-class roots. However, the Middletons will help with the upbringing of the next royal generation.
I think William is incredibly close to Kate's family. He spends a lot of time with them and he's very fond of them. He is attracted to the stable upbringing and background she's had, and I'm sure that he and Kate will want to replicate her childhood for their own children.
Kate enjoyed normal childhood activities like joining the Brownies. For the little girl who became a princess, her family's discretion was absolute. Today, they remain her closest confidants.
One of the things which attracted him to Catherine and also to the Middleton family is the fact that they're a safe, steady, stable family. And and much of their courtship was spent at Bucklebury, the family home, having a quiet pint in the local pub, away from prying eyes, away from long lenses, but just enjoying casual, normal life with the Middleton family.
The truth is that she's had to edit her friends. And that's the reality. I suppose when you date a future king, that's going to be part of it. She had a big circle of friends at St Andrews University. I would be surprised if she's still friends with perhaps half of those. But if you asked me who her best friends were, I'd actually tell you her mother and her sister, because they really are the ones with whom Kate can entirely confide. They know her inside out and better than anyone else. And I suspect that with her future royal role, which is so all-encompassing. She will need that support network, and where she always goes is back to her sister and back to her mother.
As William's girlfriend, Kate became public property. Every aspect of her childhood was scrutinised. There were stories about her being bullied at one of her schools. Her uncle Gary was caught out in a scandalous newspaper sting. Her brother James, then a student, was pictured wearing fancy dress. The most damaging criticism was about Kate's lack of proper career. A graduate in art history, she worked part-time for her parents' business but had plenty of leisure hours while William was away.
I think Kate's in an invidious position. She has been with William for a long time, 8 years, and to have to go into work every morning and not be able to talk about what you did the night before, it is very difficult. She's had to trust people, and she's worked with her family. Saying that, many people in this country work for the family business. It's not that unusual, of all backgrounds, and she's been working quietly behind the scenes and helping them earn a living.
After leaving university, William undertook a specially tailored training scheme in each of the 3 armed forces. As king, he will be Commander-in-Chief of all branches of the British military. After long stints away in the army, he spent a short period with the Royal Navy. However, it was his Royal Air Force training that he liked best. That determined his choice of career as a search and rescue pilot. Flying fixed-wing aircraft and later on helicopters became his passion. He described flying solo as an amazing feeling. William and Kate had been together for 8 years when they announced their engagement. They were both 28 years old. His parents hardly knew each other when they became engaged in 1981. Diana was 19, Charles 31.
I'm amazed that she's been brave enough to take me on. And I suppose in love. Of course. Whatever in love means.
There were no hesitations with William and Kate on the day of their engagement. They were at ease and happy with each other.
If you look back to the photographs of Charles and Diana and that dreadful comment he made, which when he was nervous about whatever love means, I mean, you can imagine if William had said that to Kate, she'd have given him a smart tap on the shoulder.
It did take a bit of time for us to get to know each other, but we did become, very close friends from quite early on.
William had lovingly kept Diana's engagement ring after her death, and he gave it to Kate when he proposed to her.
It's my mother's engagement ring, so I thought it was quite nice because obviously she's not going to be around to share any of the fun and excitement of it all. This was my way of keeping her sort of close to it all.
And I guess we better have a look at it. What kind of ring is it? Are you an expert on what's...
I'm not an expert on it at all. I've been reliably informed it's a sapphire with some diamonds, but I'm sure everyone recognises it from previous times. So
it was a poignant reference to his parents' broken marriage.
Everything about William you can trace back to what happened to his parents. He lived through the bitter breakup of their marriage. He knows how much what happened to them destroyed their marriage. He's very concerned not to make the same mistakes. I suspect there are all sorts of things running through his mind about all this, what happened to his parents, particularly what happened to his father, who clearly made a terrible choice when he was a young man, and he doesn't want to do that.
Thank you, yes, it's a normal colour.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You can't remember how many times you dyed it now, can you?
No, I don't. I was really angry at me for a minute there.
Yeah.
In 2007, singer Joss Stone helped William and Harry organise a concert in Diana's memory. Amid the big names from the entertainment world, William still had the star quality that has impressed so many people.
I remember seeing him at St Mary's Hospital. He returned to the birthing unit where he was born, and nurses were literally swooning in the corridors because he was around. He has got that X factor, but whether he's comfortable with that is another matter, and I don't think we'll see him doing the kind of performing, perhaps, that his mother was famous for.
Sorry to keep you all waiting. Try and keep on time next time, it'll be better.
What what we also know about Prince William is, while he is very much his own man and certainly won't be told what to do, he likes to decide it for himself, he's also been very clever in surrounding himself by an extremely tight-knit group of friends, the so-called circle of trust, friends from Eton, for instance, who really he now trusts implicitly.
Among this gilded circle are the Van Cutsum brothers. William was an usher at the wedding of his old pal Edward Van Cutsum and the Duke of Westminster's daughter.
When Catherine met William, she was really punching above her social weight. She was, after all, a girl from a middle-class home dealing with the upper classes, where everybody who came for dinner was Lord or Lady this. The Van Cutsum family, for example, great friends of the royals, especially of Prince Charles. Mixing in those kinds of circles, she will have felt early on quite intimidated about it. And I remember one of their friends telling me that Catherine didn't like the fact that she'd be cooking in the kitchen and being treated a bit like a skivvy, and William would be chatting away to some, lord or lady who was a student at the college.
Like his father before him, William loves polo, a game for rich players that attracts the higher echelons of society. Kate has learned to mix with the polo-playing clique, part of William's inner circle. This has not always been easy.
That social divide did create tensions early on in the relationship. Now, Catherine is friendly with most of William's friends.
In 2008, William and his fellow Royal Air Force cadets were presented with their wings by Prince Charles at a ceremony at RAF Cranwell. Kate was waiting inside, seated with Diana's sister, Lady Sarah McCorquodale. They all watched as William stepped up to receive his insignia from his proud father. Note how William turned to see Kate's reaction before leaving the platform, and how Kate noticed his attention. Flying officer William Wales was starting out in the branch of the military with his colleagues. He took part in a photo shoot with Charles and his stepmother Camilla. William has long accepted Charles's second marriage and welcomed Camilla as a companion for his father. She will prove a good advisor for Kate. In choosing a career in the RAF, William was departing from the tradition of royal service in the Army or Navy. Kate had to wait for William until the time was right for marriage, so behind the scenes she prepared for her future role.
I think Kate has taken on the role and knows what is expected of her. There are benefits and there are downfalls to any job, and she has signed up for it and is welcoming it with open arms.
Flight Lieutenant William Wales, as he is now known in the RAF, pilots Sea King helicopters, sometimes flying over the mountains of Snowdonia in treacherous weather. After a long day or night with his colleagues, he goes back home to Kate at their rented cottage near his base at RAF Valley in Anglesey. In spring 2012, he spent 6 weeks on duty in the Falkland Islands. It's a life he seems to prefer to his royal duties.
He's only done a handful of royal engagements. He's done a couple of short royal tours on his own. He's not really being a fully fledged member of the royal family firm. So in a way, he's learning the ropes just as she is. And he's not used to being the star of the show. He's left that to his dad. For a boy who likes to be out of the limelight, likes to be watching soccer on TV, watching a movie, he'll be thrilled if the burden of taking on public duties is left to Catherine.
At their Welsh home, Kate is a real housewife of Anglesey, shopping and cooking for her husband and running their cottage without full-time staff.
She's an organised girl. She's always been that way. She's the kind of girl who enjoys things like sewing and knitting, and she was taught to do that by her grandmother. And I always find it interesting that the sewing was so beautiful on the wedding dress. Again, that's an influence of Catherine. So she's a girl who's organised in a very feminine way.
After a £1 million renovation, the couple will move into Princess Margaret's old apartments at Kensington Palace. This is very near Diana's former home, where William and Harry grew up. While the apartments are being refurbished, the couple live in Nottingham Cottage in Kensington Palace grounds. When they move out, Harry will move in. William has left the apartment's decoration and design details to his wife.
Kate's very much at the helm of the refurbishments. She has a keen eye for all things interior. Of course, her passion is art, and she's going to be very hands-on with this project. So while she's based in London at Kensington Palace, she's made visits to the apartment. She has some ideas of what she wants to do for the refurbishment, but they won't actually be moving in until 2013. They will have more rooms probably than they know what to do with. There are 4 floors of these apartments, and they are largely viewed as the most luxurious and best positioned apartments. They have their own courtyard and garden. It's going to be the perfect base for them, and of course the perfect family home.
Kate has married into one of Britain's wealthiest families. At his investiture as Prince of Wales in 1969, Charles inherited the huge Duchy of Cornwall. When he accedes to the throne, William becomes the next Duke, benefiting from the Duchy's rich estates and revenues, which produce an income of over £17 million a year. The royal family has palatial homes like Balmoral in the Scottish Highlands, and Sandringham in Norfolk, where they spend Christmas. Charles's country estate in Gloucestershire is Highgrove, set in 900 acres of farmland and gardens. William is a countryman at heart. Like the rest of the royal family, he enjoys country pursuits such as hunting. While Kate was not brought up in these traditions, she's having to adapt to William's way of life, both in public and private. When their parents separated, William and Harry came under the watchful eye of Tiggy Legburke, who's from a family of landowners and courtiers who understood royal customs. Harry flourished under Tiggy's guidance, and her kindness helped him to deal with the loss of his mother when he was only 12. Harry still has this daredevil quality, quite different from his more serious older brother, who has the duty and burden of kingship ahead. A year after Diana's death, William and Harry made a brief visit to Canada with their father. Teenage girls treated the boys like rock stars. William was overwhelmed by it, unlike Harry, who lapped up all the attention. Harry became a career soldier, serving on the front line in Afghanistan as a forward air controller with his regiment, the Blues and Royals. Even in warfare, Harry found adventure with a discarded motorbike and revved it up for the camera. Harry's on-off girlfriend, Chelsea Davy, was invited to the aristocratic wedding of the Duke of Northumberland's daughter, Lady Katie Percy. There is still a hope that Harry and Chelsea could marry one day.
There's great passion between the two of them when they're together. The tension is visible, there's electricity, there's sparks flying everywhere. You can tell they have a very volatile relationship, tremendous shouting matches, screaming rows, but then they get back together again. I would say that of all the royal romances currently going on, theirs was the real true thing. It's a real deal.
Harry has found a new friend in Kate, who's like a sister to him. He spoke in advance about William's wedding.
A little small wedding with just as really close friends, but you know, we are who we are, and the position comes with it, and the role comes with it. So yeah, he's gonna, at the end of the day, he's gonna walk down that aisle with his wife, and so that's fantastic.
When Kate married William and became Duchess of Cambridge, it was Pippa, the maid of honour at her sister's wedding, who also grabbed the media's attention. People were fascinated by Kate's sister, so much so that there's even a Facebook page dedicated to Pippa's pert bottom, regarded as the perfect shape. On the palace balcony after the wedding, the obvious rapport between Harry and Pippa caused speculation of another possible royal romance. Press soon had wind of Harry's secret meetings with attractive Pippa, who's 2 years younger than the Duchess of Cambridge. The sisters are hugely competitive, with sibling rivalry over fashion and fitness. But Pippa is Kate's closest ally and never lets her down. Pippa enjoys the benefits of royal connections, the attention, the designer clothes, and the best weddings. Pippa Middleton was a guest at the wedding of Katie Percy, daughter of the wealthy Duke of Northumberland. Pippa is an old friend of Katie's brother, heir to the title and the family's huge estates. Some predict that Pippa will marry him and become a duchess too. Her last boyfriend was Alex Loudon, a rich young stockbroker, handsome and suitable, but he didn't like the endless publicity around Pippa, who is now Britain's most eligible girl.
I feel quite sorry for Pippa because everyone thinks Pippa loves all this attention she's getting, but she doesn't. She hates it, and it really stops her from leading a normal life. She can't go outside, she can't go and empty the trash, she can't do anything without being photographed because the appetite for Pippa photographs is enormous. It's like, if we can't have Kate, let's have Pippa. And poor girl is pursued relentlessly, and I think it's very difficult for her to get on with her life, and therefore very difficult for her to find a decent boyfriend. Her first relationship broke up because there was just so much attention focused on her that he couldn't deal with it.
Kate's brother James quit university to start a cake-making business linked to his parents' company. He has also been the subject of media attention.
James Middleton is very interesting because you might recall before the royal wedding, James was really making headlines for all the wrong reasons. There were pictures that were leaked on Facebook of him dressing up in his sister's clothes, drinking, misbehaving at Edinburgh University, all the sorts of things that students get up to. But unfortunately for James, found their way on the net. There were even rumours about his sexuality. So James was very much the focus of the paparazzi. He was billed as the second black sheep of the family after Kate's uncle, Gary Goldsmith. And I think people were watching, actually, for James to trip up. But what happened on the day of the royal wedding was that James presented a completely different public image. He delivered the most faultless reading at Westminster Abbey. Not only is he dyslexic, he memorised that reading. James has deliberately kept below the radar since the wedding. I think he's desperate not to be seen to be cashing in on his sister's royal connections.
And Kate's mother Carol also has to be careful about publicity. She knows she must avoid talking about Kate's position and private life.
Carol Middleton is an intelligent woman, and she knows that if she starts discussing her daughter's life, she's going to make her daughter's life very difficult, and she's the one that wanted her daughter there. She's worked very hard to get her there. Why go and spoil it?
I remember being told that the first time Kate took William home to the Bucklebury home, she instructed her parents and her family that William was to be made to feel at home, that they weren't to discuss him coming over to the house with their friends or extended family. There was a vow of silence, and I think a bond of trust right from the start of that relationship. And Carol and Michael grew to love William, I guess, as one of their own. They've really welcomed him into the family fold. So I don't think we should be surprised that there is this vow of silence.
On William and Kate's wedding day, television cameras recorded the royal guests arriving at Westminster Abbey. The great and the good, the famous and the unknown, politicians and potentates, friends and relatives, all assembled for the wedding of the century. The cameras captured some very well-known faces. Then came Tara Palmer-Tompkinson, a reformed drug addict and friend of the royals, in an eye-catching hat and dress. Pippa arrived at Westminster Abbey confidently in charge of the young bridesmaids and page boys. London crowds cheered and millions watched on their televisions as the bride, whose family tree includes coal miners, came to marry her prince. This was a real-life fairy tale come true for the whole Middleton family, who all helped to make it a perfect day.
The Middletons have already played a great role by producing a girl as delightful as Catherine, who will help William lead the monarchy through into the 21st century. But they've also shown their mettle during the royal wedding. I mean, you know, Pippa looked fabulous, James read very well, Michael and Carol really, you know, were the doting, loving parents, and they added to the spectacle, added to the sense of the family. So, you know, if the royal wedding was the renewal of the vows between the monarchy and the nation, the Middletons played a very significant part in that.
Kate has now become the world's #1 trendsetter. Everything she wears sells out instantly. On her engagement day, she wore a blue silk dress by Daniela Halale, whose Easter label Kate has made popular.
The one designer that Kate's really put on the map is Daniela Halale Issa, a very charming Brazilian, talented dress designer. Kate's been wearing her creations for years, and I don't think it was any accident that Kate chose to step out in an Easter gown for her engagement day. It was the traditional crossover jersey dress in this beautiful deep blue that totally set off her sapphire engagement ring. The staple design of Issa is a crossover jersey dress, often in a bright print, beautiful colours, perfect for the cameras. In fact, she wore a beautiful purple evening gown in Canada for an evening event. It was a pop concert, and Kate turned up, and this is what I love about her style. She might have felt the pressure to be a little bit trendy, but actually what she went was for something sophisticated, elegant, and in the most royal hue you could possibly choose. And she worked it. I mean, she looked great.
Back in London, Kate's natural habitat for clothes is Chelsea. Despite its reputation for designer clothes, there are many off-the-peg shops such as Hobbs, Oasis, Zara, Reiss and Orla Keeley on the King's Road. One of Kate's first public engagements was a visit to Rose Hill Primary School near Oxford. She wore an off-the-peg Orla Keeley coat. Kate's mother sometimes acts as her personal shopper, finding the right outfit for the occasion.
And what Kate's doing is not just getting people into the high street over here in Britain, she's putting those names on the map internationally. And I know from having interviewed the chairman, the chief executive of Reiss, that people in America cannot now get enough of Reiss, and that is down to the Duchess of Cambridge.
Kate's wedding gown was a triumph for designer Sarah Burton, creative director of the late Alexander McQueen's fashion house. But Kate has spread wide her patronage of designers and shops.
She's affiliated herself with British fashion designers, right from the haute couture end, Alexander McQueen, Jenny Packham, Amanda Wakely, big British designers. And then she goes right to the other end of the spectrum, Topshop. Well, that's just fantastic, because I think anyone that walks into Topshop and can buy the blazer, the blouse, the dress that the Duchess has stepped out in, feels that they've been able to achieve a little bit of royalty.
At Alderhay Children's Hospital in Liverpool, Kate wore a high street coat from Hobbs over a plain black Oasis dress. With her trademark tumbling hair and ready smile, Kate looks wonderful in any colour. Like Diana before her, she has an easy affinity with children. She is also tactile and connects quickly with everyone. But William's wife and his mother were very different women.
I think Kate and Diana, much as we love to compare them, are very, very, very different characters. And I think also Kate is so much older. Diana was 19 and Kate was 29. It's very, very different. And I think that Kate has also had William at her side for so many years, telling her all about his world and his life. And I think she knows a lot more what to expect.
Kate and William opened a new £18 million children's cancer unit at the Royal Marston Hospital, the setting of Diana's first solo engagement in 1982. She wore a simple but shapely figure-hugging dress by Amanda Wakely. Kate has said that Diana was an inspirational woman to look up to. Now she has started taking on some of Diana's charity interests. In this, she is encouraged and supported by William.
She's a bright girl and she can always look for a real true role to play, like Diana did. It took Diana many, many years to find that true role.
In late 2011, Kate and William made their first joint humanitarian mission to a UNICEF depot in Copenhagen. They were joined by Crown Prince Frederik and Princess Mary of Denmark. For once, Kate's outfit, a crimson coat, was considered a fashion faux pas.
Kate drew attention for all the wrong reasons, actually. She was wearing a coat, I believe it was LK Bennett. It was a rather wonderful coat, but it almost looked a size too big. It had bundled up at the back where it was belted. And of course, everyone was quite convinced that the reason she'd chosen to wear such a big coat was because she was hiding a baby bump. So we were all spotting or trying to spot the bump. And of course, when Kate refused to try this peanut paste during one of the aid missions, the rumour mill went into overdrive that she absolutely must be pregnant.
At the depot, Kate and William helped pack boxes of aid and medical supplies bound for East Africa. They were responding to the UNICEF famine appeal alongside Frederik and Mary.
It's always in the background. It's been going on for, like Catherine's saying, at least 100 days now, and it's not getting any better. You know, the rains have come now, and as hopefully you've all heard from the UNICEF brief, that doesn't necessarily mean that things are going to get better at all. In fact, disease becomes a huge issue. And so it's very much a case of anyone who can do anything to help, please do.
And Catherine, are you hopeful that being here can make a difference?
Well, we really hope so, to really put the spotlight back on this terrible crisis and really to try and raise the awareness. You know, I was shocked by some of the statistics, and I think other people would be if they've lost track of the story.
When it's very small.
The two royal couples listened intently to an expert's briefing.
Slowly but surely during the coming days.
Kate has a great deal in common with Australian-born Princess Mary.
As far as Princess Mary of Denmark is concerned, she has a lot to offer to Kate. They come from very similar backgrounds, and she's an Australian. She is a commoner to all intents and purposes who married into the royal family and has had to deal with that international spotlight being shined on her. So if anyone's in a position to help Kate, it's her.
The daughter of an English earl with a stately home, Diana married Charles 30 years before Kate married William. Had they met, Diana and Kate might have had a strained relationship.
I think Diana would be rather jealous, actually, of the fact that Catherine has already got a very finished fashion sense, that she's very much in control, very capable, with a great eye for detail. Diana always wanted a daughter. Always wanted to mentor a daughter through the labyrinthine world of the royal family. She'd have enjoyed teaching Catherine the ropes, but there'd have been a twinge of jealousy that she was passing on the fashion baton from one generation to the next.
William's commitment and love of Kate evokes the unconditional love that Diana gave William. Kate wears Diana's ring. She will live in her old palace, and she will devote the rest of her life to her elder son. But could having a couple so popular in line to the throne have consequences for Prince Charles?
Prince Charles is the longest serving Prince of Wales in history. He's not going to give up his chance of ruling, of being sovereign, nor would Prince William want him to. He wants to remain in the background for as long as he can. But sadly, the opinion polls have been against Prince Charles for the last 20 years. For 20 years, the British public have wanted William over Charles to be king. And if, quite frankly, if the House of Windsor was a popularity contest, William would win it hands down.
Kate chose to make her first public speech at the Treehouse Hospice in Ipswich, where she is a patron. She wore a blue Reese dress that her mother had previously worn at Ascot. Kate read her speech very carefully and slowly. Understandably, she sounded a little nervous.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for not only accepting me as your patron, Thank you also for inviting me here today.
William was away in the Falklands on a 6-week tour of duty. Clearly missing her husband, Kate spoke about how they worked together.
I'm only sorry that William can't be here today. He would love it here. A view of his that I share is that through teamwork so much can be achieved.
Kate is doing such a great job. All of those years, I suppose, of being nicknamed Weighty Katie by the British press, we now really see what was happening the whole time. Kate has been clearly groomed for this role for many years. Every time she steps out, I think she proves herself to be the most formidable ambassador for this country, along with her husband. I think what's so special about these two is that they do work so well together as a team. They clearly love each other. There's a great bond between them, and actually when you travel with them and you watch them carrying out these tours and these engagements, it's absolutely clear to see that they really are meant to be together.
I feel enormously proud to be part of East Anglia's children's hospices and to see the wonderful, life-changing work that you do. Thank you.